absolutely do so. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we start having an excellent conversation with Jennifer. We just do need to introduce who we are, a little bit about ourselves and what we do. So welcome to our webinar titled Networking and How to Build Business Partnerships. So the first host of the event is the Innovation Quarters. And at the Innovation Quarters, we offer a 6-month-long incubator program that helps new startups succeed with one-on-one mentoring, programming and training, networking and events, and a collaborative workspace. My name is Melissa Deshane, and I am the coordinator of this incubator program. And our next cohort is going to start in May, and applications are open till April 6th. And then our space is also open to the public. So if you are currently working from home and you don't perhaps have a good workspace at home, or you're wanting to move out of a space you're at and wanting to look for co-working space, we offer that here at 43 Elm Street. You can come on in, check it out, or visit our website at innovationquarters.ca. The co-host of the event is the Regional Business Center. The Regional Business Center is a one-stop shop for information and guidance on starting, expanding, and operating a business. They serve a large area, which includes Greater Sudbury, Espanola, Manitoulin, and the surrounding areas. They offer one-on-one consultations, business plan support, market research, and business registration. So if you're looking for support with any of those things, you can give them a call or visit regionalbusiness.ca and book a consult with them. You don't have to be in any program to get support. They will support any entrepreneur or new business. But like I said, visit their website to schedule that with them. And we have some really great upcoming webinars. We have How to Write a Business Plan happening December 5th, part of our entrepreneurship series. We have Planning Your Business Workflow with Lynn Dupuis of LMD Solutions happening on December 12th. That one's really exciting. That's going to help you understand bottlenecks in your workflow, what's inefficient, and how you can improve your processes. So that's going to be really, really great. On January 9th, we just secured a speaker for this. I'm super excited on how to develop a product from ideation to commercialization. And that's going to be with Dawson Seeley of Sudbury Windows and Doors. They've actually invented products. And so he's going to walk us through how he's come up with the idea all the way to how it's being currently built. And our speaker for today, Jennifer Self. Jennifer is an accomplished business leader with a diverse background in business development, operations, and stakeholder engagement. And she's the Director of Business Development and Engagement at the Greater Sudbury Chamber of Commerce. And she really excels in fostering key relationships and promoting economic growth within the local business community. And some of her experience in corporate environments include working with Lululemon Athletica, EF Education First, and Sunnybrook Health Sciences Center. She holds an MBA from Hult International Business School and is passionate about travel, fitness, and community engagement, as we will find out more today. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Melissa. Happy to be here.
Yes, we're happy to have you. We're very happy to have you. And everybody, Jennifer is at the Chamber of Commerce. So that's just across the street from the Innovation Quarters. So I'm sure you can pop by and say hello from time to time. Is that right, Jennifer?
Yes, we're always here 8:30 to 5 every day.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay, so today's presentation is not a typical presentation. It's an interview. So we're going to be going ahead with our first question of the day. Can you share a little bit about your career journey? What brought you here to Sudbury and working with the Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, so I have, if anyone's creeped me, as I would have done before, I've had quite a diverse background. To answer how I got to Sudbury, I moved here with my husband, who owns a lodge and outfitter that's about an hour away. And when I moved, I said, I was returning back to Lululemon because they were opening a store at the new Sudbury Mall. So that's how I got there. And then through connections and networking, I got my chamber job through trying to sell someone something at Lululemon. And they asked if I would consider moving to the Chamber of Commerce. But previously, my career path has really been just defined, I would say, by strong commitment to building communities and fostering relationships. Hence how I got this job through trying to sell someone something. Um, and before Sudbury, I worked in roles that emphasized business development, community engagement, and strategy. Through a training program, I discovered that what I was truly passionate about was building relationships. And so I've kind of worked and found jobs where I can do that. Building a babysitting company in Toronto, New York, and LA, while working in advertising after returning from my MBA in London, where I worked for EF, as Melissa said, which is a privately owned company with over 50,000 employees worldwide. So I was based in London, but traveling around the world. And each
London, UK.
Yes, London, UK, and then I was yes, not London, Ontario, sorry. London, UK, and then I also got to work I oversaw the worldwide operations for students traveling to do like summer camps and where they'd learn English. And so I traveled to Spain, Italy, and France, and then I also got to go to Russia, and I lived in Ireland for about 6 months. Um, and then, I had people come to my wedding who I worked with there. But yeah, I think lots of different relationships come from that, and kind of tying it back to, each opportunity has really allowed me to expand my professional network and develop a deep appreciation for how collaboration drives success is something I really hone in on. And so at the chamber, I'm able to merge those experiences, where I work closely with businesses to foster economic growth, develop strategic partnerships, and support unique needs of our members, which I know we will talk more about, Melissa, through the questions,
Yeah.
and kind of how I do that, how I've been able to do that through my career.
It's a really incredible journey. Kind of, you've been all over the world. I'm
Yes.
happy we specified UK and not London, Ontario, because that just makes it even more incredible. And on that note, how have you remained connected with all these people that you've met everywhere?
Yes. So when I was making notes for this, I really wrote down and bolded and underlined that consistency is key to staying connected. I really prioritize regular communication, whether it's a quick check-in email, sharing an article that's relevant to their interests, or meeting up. I don't meet as many people in person when possible because my network is kind of all over the place. Um, I also find social media plays a vital role in this. Platforms like LinkedIn, I think, are indispensable for keeping up with people's milestones, congratulating peers on their achievements, and then we'll talk about it more, but creating very authentic relationships so that you can do those things of like share an interesting article, and then you send that and then you end up catching up for 10 minutes. And through my career and those, I feel very fortunate to be able to, when I meet someone here, you're interested in that. Here, let me connect you with so and so. They are passionate about this, but they live somewhere else. So I really also love, as much as we're talking about networking and how to build business partnerships, I think another key word that I like to call is like being a connector and connecting people. And one thing I always say is like, I may not have the answer for things, but I know someone who will, and I'll connect you. But that was a little tangent. Sorry, Melissa.
No, that's okay. I think that that's actually really great information, right? Is being able to, people to know, okay, well, I know that Jennifer might not have the answer, but Jennifer will know somebody who has the answer because Jennifer is so well connected,
I
right?
try. I
Yeah.
try. I don't know everyone. I really don't know everyone, but yeah, I try.
Maybe by next year you'll be like, yep, I know everybody in Sudbury now.
I know. Well, I'll try. It's a goal.
Yeah. Um, So speaking of which, like, how do you meet with people? How do you connect? Are there any specific locations? We talked about LinkedIn, but other like physical locations that you like to frequent to make those connections?
I think Sudbury has been a little different. So I'm just because I moved here during COVID, and then unfortunately with the chamber, I, meet with people at their business location. But honestly, when I thought more about this, I meet people everywhere, whether it's the grocery store, at a gym working out, picking up my son at daycare. I kind of try and use anywhere as a possible place to meet people, because you never know who you're, like running groups, um, less networking per se events. Like when I was in London doing my MBA and working at EF, you know, the pub, the local watering hole, I would meet people there, and I also tried to figure out how to explain that people just tell me their life stories. Um, I don't know. I think just like eye contact and a smile, some people that just like people have word vomit once you smile and make eye contact with people. But in, innovation quarters where you meet people, I think lots of coffee shops. I've met a ton of people in Sudbury at coffee shops, not because we're going to go and meet at a coffee shop, but because I'm at a coffee shop to get a coffee, and then you chat with someone in line and you end up connecting. But yeah, those are just some very informal places to meet professionals. You go to Kitchen and Bits and you're buying something because you're making sourdough, and then you end up chatting and you learn something about them and you make authentic connections with them and ask
Mhm.
questions. Yeah.
Fair enough. I think those are all really great points. And I do want to talk about the body language in a little bit. But, speaking of how to make those connections and the locations you go to, how do you like approach somebody? You talked about smiling, but I mean, like, a lot of people don't naturally have that tendency to like just talk to a stranger, right? So how do you know to approach them, and how do you know that this is the right time or that they might be receptive?
Yeah, so approaching someone new does require a little bit of confidence and but more genuine curiosity, I think. So I always start with like, a warm introduction. Warm, that's the word I landed on for this, but introduction, such as commenting on something we have in common or giving a compliment, which is, I find, quite rare these days. Um, or chatting about something in common we have, whether it be where we are or what we're doing or the event we're attending, and always asking open-ended questions about themselves, and staying away from yes no questions.
Fair enough, right? I think that the open-ended question is, you're right. Like that's definitely going to start a conversation as opposed
Mhm.
to, you know, yes or no.
Right.
But back to knowing if, if someone is
Oh
is the
yes,
right fit to
sorry.
approach them. Um, like let's say someone's on their phone or someone looks really busy. Like I'm guessing those are signs you wouldn't approach somebody, especially if you're not at an event that's made for networking.
Yes. So one thing I remember, you can tell if you want, so you're at an event and people are talking, you're able to see whether there's closed or open conversations by, like, a closed conversation is people one-on-one together, or four people, they're closed, they're having a conversation. No point going and approaching them. Like, that is what I would consider a closed conversation. Versus an open conversation, there's like a space. So, someone's half in, half out. There is this opportunity for you to join that conversation. Um, yeah, people on their phones, sometimes it's just because they're standing alone and they want to talk to someone. So sometimes I do target those people to talk to. Um, but no, I think the open and closed conversations, and sometimes it can also just be like short and sweet. When you are going to an event per se, um, I usually do research on like who I think would be attending, or on Eventbrite. Sometimes you can see who's attending, and look up uh, who potentially could be there on social media, see if you have any mutual contacts. If there's a presenter, I like to make sure I've read up on them, so I have something, interesting to share with someone about that they may not know. And so you kind of get into the conversation like that. Like, did you know this person also, previously did this? How cool is that? And so having some information or topics or pieces of information that you can share, tidbits, that you can share, um, as like an opening line versus hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
I actually I love that. That is actually excellent feedback, right? To kind of get them to pique interest and be like, oh, like this is great. I think that's really good feedback.
Yeah, and
Um,
usually most of the time it leads into, a conversation. Sometimes, yes, it's like, oh yeah, I knew that. And then you're like, okay, like,
mhm.
thanks. Bye.
Yes. Yes. Well, specifically when you're at an event like that where there's a speaker or networking involved, asking them like, oh, what brings you here? Or do you happen to know the speaker? Or, questions like, again, establishing that commonality,
Mhm.
as to why you both might be here for the same reason or to connect with people. And then,
Yeah.
but on that note, how do you know if somebody you've connected with is interested in the conversation?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, Usually you can tell, like if they bring out their phone or they lose eye contact. I have experienced it. Some people don't. Like I like truly eye contact. Like I look into your eyes, where I know, and I think I told you this, Melissa, but my sister, she's a little younger than me, but she looks to the side. And so she is talking to you, but she doesn't make full eye contact. And we're working on that with her. But I do know that doesn't mean that they're not interested. It's just they find eye contact very intimidating. Um, but, also if you go, as I said, going up to someone, you need a little bit of confidence and curiosity. So if you want to like carry out the conversation, like carry on, but I would do like 2 or 3 tries. And then if it's not, just say, okay, I'm going to go to the bathroom, or like, and really easy out. Like I'm going to
Yeah.
go find my seat. Like hope you enjoy the conversation. Like that would be one where you're like, it wasn't as fruitful, but then also you're giving yourself time to go meet someone else that you can connect with, learn something about, and make like an authentic connection that then you feel okay, reaching out to them on LinkedIn the next day. And, sending a little message of it was great to meet you. Did you, and, open-ended question to continue the conversation.
And on that note, like you said, the next day after an event, is that how quickly you recommend following up with people you meet?
Yes, so I always follow up within 24, 48 hours, but usually 24. And it's usually like just a really quick message, like great to meet you. Um, Sometimes if it's like connecting on LinkedIn, I'll have, check them out and say, that's so cool. Like, I didn't know you knew so and so, or like, I saw you used to work here, and then adding a little bit of, you want to add value. So, I didn't know you knew so and so. This is how I know them. Um, I saw you used to work here. Like, I've heard great things about it. So adding a little bit of value versus just sending a request and not writing a note. Like you can do that when you've worked with them or whatnot, but I think when you've met someone new, you have to put a little bit of effort, and then that person appreciates it. They always feel, you want them to, people like feeling special. and they're more likely to remember you and think of you, because as much as you're trying to connect with them, you want them to connect with you.
That's,
It's a
you know what,
reciprocal.
great feedback on that, about adding something to that when you're reaching out. Like when you talk about adding a note, you mean on LinkedIn, right? When you connect with
Mhm.
someone, adding a message to that connection
Yeah.
as opposed to
You only
just
get
sending it.
like a few characters, so you gotta really be concise, but once you connect with them, then you can, like, you don't need to have this long, like pen pal relationship, but just like highlighting an authentic connection you have. And then, in 6 months, when you maybe need something from them, or like, you got to follow up, they'll be like, oh yeah, Jennifer, she like knew so and so, or I met her at this event and she knew this cool fact about something. Like, so that you made like some kind of connection.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah. And how do you know if it's worth pursuing further, right? Let's say you've made a connection with somebody, you sent them that initial message on LinkedIn or in an email. Um, how do you know if it's worth continuing to grow that over time? Because there's some
Mm,
connections that you're like, okay, I made a connection. I know them if I ever need to reach out. And then others you're like, I want to keep meeting them because this is going to be a great relationship.
Um, yeah, great question. I think, and this doesn't happen on the first like meeting, but sometimes you can, but the alignment of values and like mutual benefits are critical factors in evaluating whether this is going to be a long-term partnership, friendship. Um, I think consistent communication, um, this, as I said, on LinkedIn, you can celebrate mutual successes. Um, but yeah, it's a good question, because there's some contacts you have that you don't talk to for years, but you can, you know, I would feel okay to like call them up out of the blue, be it connecting them to someone else or asking a question about, a company they work for now. Um, but I really, and maybe this is just me as a connector, but I truly believe if you've made like an authentic, unique connection with someone, that it doesn't matter like how long you don't talk to them, or, you don't stay in touch. There's like, you know something about them, and you know that that's who they are and their values, and that you're aligned, and that you can connect with them again.
Yeah, the sharing of values is, I think, really important too. And I guess there would be a point when you would say, well, let's go on a coffee, meet up, and maybe chat and kind of like
Mhm.
further this partnership along, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I always find people, and if it's not like a mentor, but people like talking about themselves. So it's usually it's not super hard. It's just whether to get in their calendars and how busy they are. But people love talking about themselves.
Good to know.
Yeah, that's what I found. Maybe not
Yeah.
everyone, but lots of people.
And like, how do you build trust with them, right? Like, how do you get them to trust you? Because like you've just met them, you've connected with them. Maybe you ask to meet with them in person to talk more, have a coffee or something like that. Are there ways you can build that trust?
Yeah, so for me, trust is built through transparency, reliability, and delivering That's what I said, adding value. I'm a super honest person, and following through on commitments, and like that is a big one. So like if you say I'm gonna email you or I'll send you something, you do it, and you do it on time. I think that being authentic in your interactions is also essential. Um, when people know when you're being authentic and genuine. And then also you can share like your successes and challenges, also helps to create a sense of relatability.
Mm, those are really great points. I think authenticity is very important, right? Not just always taking, or feeling fake in the questions. Oh, how's your family? But not really caring about the response. You're just saying it to be like, I'm making conversation, you know? So I think, you know, things coming from the heart is very important, establishing that trust. And to that note, when you do, you know, let's say schedule some kind of follow-up meeting with somebody to, again, talk, giving my example of a coffee date, um, of maybe being, like you said, transparent as to why you want to get to meet them, get to know them, you know, continue that conversation, because we see often, and I'm sure you see it too, Jennifer, and people reaching out and they're not telling you why they want to meet. And sometimes it's because maybe they have an MLM and they want to recruit you, or, you know, or like there's other reasons where you're like, well, whoa, you know, I want to put the brakes on here because you're not being transparent with me as to why you'd meet. I've had the opportunity a few times to say, oh, what will it be about? And they're like, I have a great opportunity for you. I'd like to show you. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for reaching out. I appreciate it, but I don't think at this time. And then you may unfortunately get a call again in 3 months, but at
Yeah,
least, you know, you've deferred.
exactly. Yeah. And that's where the authenticity and trust comes in. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so this question's a little bit about conflict.
I
Have you ever
know.
experienced a conflict in a partnership or with a connection? And what did you do to resolve it? Or did you find it was time to break that connection? And of course, without it being a detriment to your appearance or your network.
Yeah. So I took a lot of time thinking about this because I have had some falling outs with people just, you know, because of lack of transparency, or, you know, I'm really yes, values not ending up, like, as I said, values not aligning. I do believe conflict is inevitable, but manageable. This is what my dad has always told me. You know, I truly believe I always address the issues directly by focusing um, on shared goals and seeking solutions collaboratively, which isn't always possible. Um, and I think if parting ways is necessary and has been necessary, I always try and keep the conversation respectful, acknowledge the value of the time we've worked together or, you know, spent together, but and express openness for future collaboration if the circumstances change. But yes, which I've had, you know, circumstances change and reconnected with people where there's been issues. And then sometimes it's no, I will, you know, blocked on all platforms and never hear from them again. And it's
I
usually from
assume,
unaligned values,
yes.
like truly.
And I assume too that like business connections are easier to kind of pull away from, right? Over friendships. Easier to kind of pull the tie
Yes.
on, right? If it's not going in a positive way for you.
Hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's always, they're tricky and uncomfortable, and confrontation is the worst, but just, you know, it'll be better once it's taken care of
Mhm.
and you have those open conversations and focus on, you know, focus on the outcome. But there are some difficult conversations that everyone has.
For sure. For sure.
Mhm.
Okay, so events. Is there anything specific you want to promote where we can network and meet you or meet people like you?
Yeah, well, absolutely. The chamber regularly hosts a variety of events. You know, our chamber connects, we do industry professionals luncheons, and we always allocate time for networking. Um, and these are great opportunities for you to do some research on the presenter, come in, connect with people. You know, we do a registration table so you can overhear you know, who's going to be sitting with you, do a quick search on your phone. But we have an upcoming Chamber Connect event on Thursday, December 12th. This is at Respect is Burning, like a wine and cheese appreciation evening. That's definitely a networking event. We also we do similar events like this, but in person, kind of training workshops. So December 10th, we have podcast hosts from the Unlikely Innovators, talking about innovation in the North. And that event as well has some networking opportunities, and then who you sit next to, chat with them about what they thought. And then I also, wine and cheese. Or not wine and cheese, sorry, our International Women's Day, but that's coming in March. But they're all fantastic opportunities to network. And I am only going to plug chamber events at the moment.
I can plug a few more.
Yes,
but yeah, absolutely.
please
Those
do.
are all great events. We have quite a few people interested over here about especially the likely innovators. That's going to be amazing. But I would say any kind of group that has similar interests to you, you're going to meet business connections, any kind of group, whether it's sports, whether it's clubs, whether it's, something nerdy you like to do, or book club, or a board game club, or there's even like the Young Professionals Association, which has had a few events lately that have been really
They're
amazing.
coming to our December 12th event. They're
Perfect. Yes.
promoting it as well. So yeah.
Absolutely encourage you to attend all of those, and to meet as many people as possible. And I would like to encourage everybody watching today to try to make one connection a week from now. Okay, so set yourself that task and see if you can connect with someone new within a week, and just go from there, and just kind of increase that as you're setting some goals to kind of network and meet more people in the community. So just two final questions from me. This is a typical question you hear in a lot of sort of interviews. What would you tell your younger self? What kind of advice would you give yourself?
About networking, and there's a lot of advice I'd give myself, younger self. So, one piece. Well, I have two. So top two. I would say focus on quality over quantity. So building deep, meaningful connections is far more valuable than collecting contacts. Authenticity and consistency are what turn a connection, I would say, into like a partnership. And then the second one, I tell myself this every day, is I'm only interested in high quality, low maintenance friends.
Emphasis on low maintenance. I agree with that one.
High quality, low maintenance. You don't have to talk to them all the time. My whole consistency, but consistency can also be like every 3 months. It doesn't need to be like every day in a group chat or whatnot. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would quality over quantity.
And I mean, those are some great tips to tell your younger self, and definitely apply to everybody listening. Any final stories you want to share with the group?
No, I think what I find most rewarding in networking is that connecting piece. And as you said, like I may not know the answer, but I will know someone to connect you to. And that's what I truly, being a connector, I really enjoy it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we're going to open the questions up to the group. There is a chat field. You can feel free to go ahead and type if you have any questions for Jennifer. But in the meantime, I really encourage you to attend some of the upcoming chamber events, so you get to meet Jennifer in person and maybe ask those questions in person.
But also come say hi, and I will connect you with someone else. I can connect you with someone. Any questions?
I don't see any questions coming in.
No worries.
Yeah, and that's actually a good sign. It probably means that everything was answered.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you asking the questions, Melissa. Oh, thank you,
Mhm.
Corinne Marshall. Thanks for taking time to chat.
Absolutely. Great. Okay, well, today was really wonderful. Again, thank you so much on behalf of the Regional Business Center and Innovation Quarters for speaking to us today. One
Oh,
question just came in. Is it possible for there to be an in-service on LinkedIn? What does that mean, in service?
I'm not sure.
Let's see, there's a follow-up to that coming. While the follow-up is coming for that question, I just want to say quickly to the group, there's going to be a quick survey sent out to everybody just about our webinars. If you can take a moment to fill it out, it should take less than 30 seconds. And then also, this session was recorded. It will live on the Innovation Quarters website, so you can kind of share it with anybody who might have missed it today. And the follow-up to that question,
Oh,
tips on how to set up a good profile or important things to include or best ways to use it. That's a great question. Do you have any tips for setting up your profile on LinkedIn?
honestly, you could do a whole session on LinkedIn and setting up your profile. Um, Gosh, I haven't done mine since business school. So maybe don't use mine. I would attend a session on LinkedIn. Yeah. There you go, Melissa, new content.
Yes. Great feedback from the group. That's actually a really good idea. I think we're
Yeah.
gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
Can we leave that, Caroline? Is that okay if we leave that as a potential session? Um, One tip I do remember in business for sure. Okay, great. Do remember in business school is when we were like, make sure it's up to date. If you're looking for a job, like we're hiring right now, and I've checked out everyone's LinkedIn accounts. Make sure they're up to date. Also, if you have they recommended this, ask people to make recommendations. So you can ask people to write, they like give reviews of you on LinkedIn. Those are super helpful. Be active on LinkedIn, like things, follow interesting businesses, watch business. I always follow Lululemon because I'm obsessed, but they are an exceptional company and you learn a lot from there. But yeah, I think a full session on you could do a 30-minute, 45-minute session on how to do LinkedIn. How to set your account so when you creep people, they don't see that it's you creeping them. There's a setting for that.
I love seeing who creeped me.
Well, you'll never see that it's me.
Yes, and some requests for Instagram as well. Great point. Yeah. I think we do have a recording for Instagram that I can share with the group. If you go to innovationquarters.ca and if you go to events and past or recorded webinars, I believe is the page. There is some good social media ones that really cover content for Instagram, and then there's another webinar that also covers like which customer is on which platform, so you know where to focus your time on when it comes to social media marketing. But we don't have one specifically for LinkedIn, so I feel like that would be a really good one. We did have one more question come in about networking. Do most people attend on their own, or do they go as a company? And that to events, I assume. I feel
Yes.
nervous about showing up to these things, not knowing anyone. That's a good
Yes.
question.
Great question. Well, you would know me. I'm always there, well, except maybe not in the new year. But people do come alone. Yes, 110% people come on their own. People come with a friend, people come with a business person, but people come alone. And there's quite a robust team at the chamber that when you register and check in, you could tell, like, you tell us and say, I don't actually know anyone. Could you introduce me to someone? I think that's a totally valid question or request. Sorry. If I show up with my partner, we end up just sticking together. Yes, that does happen, Heather. Um, Yeah, I would. Oh, and Sylvie's going to December 10th, no, 12th event. She bought a ticket. She's going with this lovely woman, Heather, no, Wendy, who's really cool. And they'll have a really good time. Oh, Sylvie's chatting. Yes, see, she'll be there. Oh, perfect. Okay, great. Okay.
I realized I was talking, but I was muted.
Oh, what were you
There's
saying?
some, I shared the link for the webinars.
Oh,
And I also want to say too that to Heather's point, when you go with somebody, you end up actually talking more to the person you went with, and you end up connecting less often with people outside of your circle. So really, I recommend almost going to events alone if you can like really amp up the courage to do so, because you're gonna make so many more connections that way. And I've felt that from experience from going to events alone. Instead of staying at your table and just staying seated with the people that you know, right? Going alone sometimes pushes you to go ahead and to talk to other people, and that leaves you open for people to approach you too. Not saying you have to go alone, but you're more likely, I feel like, to meet people if you do.
so so not to contradict, but what I would do in business school is I actually would go with a friend, and then we would go and talk to other people and then bring them together. Or like we would meet up again and be like, who'd you talk to? Oh, that's cool. And then we would like switch spots and be like, oh, I know you were just talking to my friend Jane. She says you like sharks. Like, that's so cool. I'm from Australia. I love sharks. And so we would like tag team it and be able to cover more people. And then also like, then you still had like a support person, but you have to be able to separate and do that. Yeah.
I love that idea, actually. You were just talking to, so
Yeah.
getting that intel from your
Yeah.
partner.
You get like
Yeah,
intel. So you're like doubling up. And then you can be like, oh, I really think you should meet this person. And then you get an introduction. And then that person feels good because they're, getting to talk about themselves and being introduced to someone who wants to meet them. Yeah.
that's wonderful advice. Yeah, and I
Mhm.
hope to see some of that at your next chamber event.
Me too. Maybe not talking about sharks, but people coming together. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. I see there's one more question coming in from Natan,
Okay.
and then we'll probably end it after that one question.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, what are 3 things that you see frequently
Ooh,
occur in networking that people should avoid? Absolutely a great question.
great question. The closed conversations. So when people are, 2-on-2 or like a group of 4 and it's closed and you're not opening up to allow other people to come join conversations. Um, frequently occur in networking that people should avoid. Being on their phones, as we talked about earlier, that's not as welcoming unless they're nervous, but you should, look up, make eye contact with people. And if it's not a match, like you can go back down. 3 things. Okay, that's 2. Third one. I don't know. I don't know if I have a third one that I've noticed. One thing I don't like is when people come in a group and they're not there to meet anyone else, which happens, and that's total, but it's okay. They're coming to just enjoy a drink and act. Some chamber members actually use our events as like employee like benefits. So like they get to go as a group and enjoy an evening out. So that does happen. I don't particularly like, if they're wanting to network or if someone wants to meet them, it's kind of unfortunate, but that happens. Oh, another question. I hope that
Mhm.
answers your question, Dara. I'm not sure if you answered this before. When you start a new conversation, it's better to mention you represent your company or better start. Oh, chat naturally. Personally, I think so because I don't think my job and title define who I am. I don't want them to think that this is all I've done, and like I have way more interesting things to talk about. And so that's why that's how you connect authentically with them, because, you know, I don't know, you're passionate about Salute Tea Mistos, and then you end up connecting on that, and then you see them at Salute and blah, 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 and you can have a more of a authentic connection versus, hi, I'm so and like, but sometimes that does work. I work at Valet. Oh, wow. Like, I don't work at Valet, but yeah, it depends. I think
You're right. I think it's going to sound more authentic if you're not like, hello, my name is Melissa. I'm from Allstate Insurance, or,
yes.
like, it's going to sound less salesy, right? If you're,
Like in a trade show or entrepreneurial event, sometimes there's name tags, so you can see, but I personally lead with authenticity and making an honest connection with someone versus, I'm the director of whatnot somewhere. And then you finish it off by giving a business card, or on LinkedIn, you can scan a QR code to connect with them, so you don't have to search them. Yeah. There's more questions,
great.
Melissa.
Yes, more questions are coming in, but that's really great advice. And like even at a trade show or an entrepreneur event, like Jonathan mentioned, if there is that name tag, let's say it says I'm from Innovation Quarters, you can use that as an opening to approach somebody and say, oh, Innovation Quarters, I see that on your name tag. What's that all about, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's a good point. You can use that as an in. What are pitfalls organizations face when forming new partnerships, and how can we avoid them? Oh, I think that's a bigger question. I'm not sure. That's a great question. I don't really have an answer for that one.
I'll chime in a little bit here.
Yeah.
From my experience in entrepreneurship, when I would form an official partnership with a business, it's after a lot of those initial coffee dates, right? You meet them at an event, you go on a coffee date, maybe the next time you go out for lunch, and then you kind of see if you have those same values that Jennifer mentioned. And then you maybe talk about how your services complement each other. And then you can really have a partnership and say, okay, well, let's say I'm a writer and I have a partnership with someone who is a translator, let's say. I know that anytime someone comes to me and they need translations after I've done my work, I'm going to refer them to the translator that I have a partnership with. And that's how you connect with other businesses and establish those partnerships, is mostly by referring business. Pitfalls, I think, is when those partnerships are only going one way, right? Like if you keep referring to one, but they're not referring back to you. So to Jennifer's point, keeping consistent and continuing to meet with them and to, make sure you're both on good terms.
Yeah.
And yeah, do you have anything to add on that one, Jennifer?
I think just picking up from what you're saying is the building of trust. Because also, if you refer someone and they're not, they actually don't follow through, and it makes you look really bad. You look bad. And I think that can sometimes be a tough situation to be put in, and be like, you referred this person, but they like never got back to me, or, you connected me with and never heard from them. They actually, their work wasn't how you sold it to be. So I think that's why that authentic connections with people and building trust and aligned values makes it so when you're connecting people and creating partnerships that, there's value.
Great piece of advice to end on. I think there's been some really great moments shared today that I hope to see all of you put into practice. Practice at the next chamber event.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
December 10th or 12th. But thank you
Perfect.
so much, Melissa, for having me. was very flattered to be asked to do this, and I love if you ever see me like out and about, just say hi.
Absolutely. And to the group, actually, Jennifer was recommended to us as a speaker for this topic
Yeah.
by several people, which only speaks true to how well she is at making those connections. So,
Mm.
but on that note, everybody have a great day,
Yeah.
have a great lunch, and we'll see you at the next event.
Yes. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.